Okay, so I had a follower reach out last week who wanted to move here. And he said he wanted to be he wanted to be in Surrey instead of Langley. So I asked him, like, well, why not Langley, right? Because this is the first time I've ever actually heard a buyer say, no Langley, only Surrey. And typically it's always the opposite, right? So I asked him why. And he said, well, because the crime rate is too high. It's not safe, right? And the crime has definitely gotten worse in Langley. But I think it's gotten worse just as a blanket statement pretty much all across Canada. So in this video, I'm going to answer the question, is it still safe to live in Langley, BC? Starting off with the crime stats. So livability, 84, amenities, A+, completely agree with this. Langley's extremely amenity rich. You guys have heard me say that before. It's very commutable and it's getting more commutable with the addition of the SkyTrain coming in probably 2033 or something like that. And then you have cost of living at D-, that's pretty much D- across the board these days. Crime is now an F in Langley. So crime, like they fail on crime, but everything else, A+, schools are B+, user ratings are A. 207% above the national average for crime. Violent crime is apparently 131% above the national average, and property crime is 233%. Now, this is actually 3 times higher because 100% is a 2x, and that means 200% is 3 times higher than the national average. So in Langley, you're, 13,000 per 100,000 people are getting caught for committing crime. So that's 1.3% of people who live in Langley are getting caught committing crime. That obviously doesn't add in all the people who are getting away with it, right? Or all the unreported crime, I should say. Back down to the quick facts, 207% above the national average, violent crimes 131. You have a 1 in 8 chance of becoming a victim of crime. And when I lived in Langley, I definitely did become a victim of crime probably once a year, but I'm also completely brain dead when it comes to leaving my car unlocked. So hopefully you guys don't know where I live because I do that often. Langley is safer than 16% of the cities in the United States. Now that says something, that the other 84% of the cities are safer than Langley City, with all the gun crime and everything that happens in the States, right? I thought that was very interesting. However, it did decrease 6% year over year. Now, the safest places to live around Langley, Langley gets an F here, right? West Pitt Meadows, Campbell Heights, Elgin Chantrell, that's South Surrey, Morgan Creek, Crescent Beach, like a lot of A+ in Langley, surprisingly. Douglas is in Surrey. Langley is in, or Douglas is in Langley, South Surrey, and then South Surrey, Fleetwood, this is where I grew up, C+. Mallardville is a C+, that's interesting. North Cloverdale West, that's also pretty interesting that this would only be a C+, but I think this is probably Clayton Heights. Now, when we actually look at the crime rate via different types of crime, right? The level of crime overall is a 60.28. Crime rising in the past 5 years is 81.24. That's very high. Worries, home broken and things stolen, 44. Worries being mugged or robbed, very low, 39.6. Car being stolen, 42. Things stolen from car, 57. Worries of being attacked is a 44. Worries of being insulted is a 49. I didn't know it was a crime to insult somebody, so that's interesting. Worries being subject to a physical attack because of your skin color, 36, pretty low. Problem using drugs. Drugs is very high in Langley. I will openly say that there is a drug problem in Langley these days. Problem property crimes such as vandalism and theft. Problem violent crimes such as assault, armed robbery is a 47. Problem corruption and bribery is a 33. Walking alone during daylight, very safe, 68. However, at nighttime, it is low at 34.7. Now, let's compare this to Surrey, because Surrey's kind of like the baseline for crime in BC. Like, this is what everybody seems to compare it to, right? So, level of crime is still higher in Surrey at 72.16. Worries being home broken in and things stolen is actually lower than it is in Langley at 72. Crime increasing in the past 3 years is actually lower in Surrey. Home being broken in, still higher in Surrey. Mugged or robbed, still higher in Surrey. Car stolen, still higher in Surrey. Worries of things being stolen from cars, still higher. So, I mean, by almost every measurable metric, there's still more crime in Surrey than there is in Langley. Look at this, 26.62 safety rating walking alone during night in Surrey. So not very safe to walk alone at night, especially if you are a girl in Surrey, according to the statistics. Now, my, I guess, subjective opinion. I lived in Surrey for 22 years, and then I lived in Langley for almost 3 years. And they always measure crime as in like how safe it is. And the way that I look at safety is not like your car being broken into, or if you leave your bike out on the grass, somebody's going to steal it. I look at it like, what are my odds of getting into a physical altercation where I can be harmed? And I think overall, if you're looking at both Surrey and Langley, your chances of that happening are extremely low. Like, I pretty much never hear of somebody who isn't, part of that lifestyle where this is happening, right? If you leave your car unlocked, somebody's going to break into it and steal everything inside. If you leave your house unlocked, somebody could come inside your house, right? Although I've only heard of that happening once in, all of my years being alive, that I know personally. And if your kid leaves their bike out on the grass during the day, somebody could steal that bike. It's, in fact, most likely it's going to get stolen. But are you going to be walking down the street and get robbed? Very low probability, probably not going to happen, right? Are you going to get stabbed at random? Probably not going to happen. The thing with Surrey and probably even Langley is there is a decently high gang presence. But if you're not a part of those gangs, somebody from a gang isn't going to hop out of their car and rob you on the side of the street. The gangs are shooting and killing the other gangs, right? They're not just, harassing everyday Samaritans walking down the street for the most part. So as long as you are not yourself part of a gang, I would consider you to be safe living in these areas. They kind of just, it's always been this way. They keep to themselves. The violent crime is typically amongst the gangs, and they leave the everyday personnel kind of out of that situation, right? And the other thing I always like to compare this to, even though it says that Langley is apparently worse than 84% of US cities, is like, we don't have like a rampant gun problem where, like, in the States, if you get into a physical altercation with somebody, there's a very high likelihood of being shot, right? That is not the case here. But it's not like the States where crime, I would say, is actually, you would be unsafe in a lot of areas in the States. Like, you would feel unsafe living there. People could break into your home, and people have weapons that could kill you. And I don't think it is like that in Surrey or Langley at all. I think it is mostly petty crime, and the level of petty crime is increasing, and car break-ins and all of these things are increasing. People stealing stuff and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I would say if you live a normal lifestyle and you just go to work and you come home and you live your life, Langley's a safe place to live. And I really like Langley for most buyers because it is commutable. There are a lot of family-oriented neighborhoods with young families, and it is very amenity rich, and there's a lot of growth coming there. And overall, whether it's Surrey or Langley, like I said, if you keep to yourself, my personal subjective opinion is that it is safe. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Surrey or Langley, you can use my calendar link down in the description to book a call with me. Otherwise, I appreciate you for watching this video. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.